All right, let's start with some international news today. I was not initially going to talk about this today, but I got emails about it over the weekend and read a bunch of articles this morning. And there's really like a bigger story here in what's going on in Europe globally, or the impact of the global impact of what we start to see in Europe and Germany. You know, we've had this backstory ever since the election of Donald Trump about German Chancellor Angela Merkel becoming effectively the leader of the free world. Now, as I should mention every time I talk about this, that's not an actual position. It's sort of a colloquial designation often assigned to the President of the United States. When Donald Trump was elected, it was so humiliating, he was so pathetic that the consensus, we could say, plurality of the consensus was that Angela Merkel had become the leader of the free world, longstanding German chancellor. We then more recently learned that she would not be up for reelection. And we now are sort of looking to Germany, in a sense, as a referendum on this authoritarian rightward shift that we've seen in much of Europe and around the world. Of course, in places like Hungary and others in Europe, but also the Duterte style stuff, Putin, as well as Bolsonaro, etc. So we are starting to get news from Germany, and it's actually looking very, very interesting for social democracy. German social democrats beat conservatives in vote to decide Merkel's successor. Social Democrats, SPD, ahead in projected results. SPD's Scholz claims clear mandate for pragmatic government, but conservative Laschet also vows to seek coalition. As I mentioned, Chancellor Angela Merkel not seeking a fifth term. This is from Reuters. Germany's Social Democrats narrowly won Sunday's national election, projected results showed, and claimed a, quote, clear mandate to lead a government for the first time since 2005 and to end 16 years of conservative-led rule under Angela Merkel. Now, I wouldn't criticize you if you wrongly thought that Angela Merkel was a centrist or on the left. There's no question that compared to American right-wing nuts, Merkel seems quite moderate. But by European standards, by German standards, Merkel was and is a conservative, and this would be a decided shift. The center-left Social Democrats were on track for 26% of the vote, ahead of the 24.5% for Merkel's CDU-CSU conservative bloc. Both groups believe they could lead the next government. With neither major bloc commanding a majority and both reluctant to repeat their awkward grand coalition of the past 4 years, the most likely outcome is a three-way alliance led by either the Social Democrats or Merkel's conservatives. So we don't yet know the answer as to who will actually be in charge there. Agreeing a new coalition could take months and will likely involve the smaller Greens and liberal Free Democrats. Social Democrats Chancellor candidate Olaf Scholz says we are ahead in all the surveys now, adding, it is an encouraging message and a clear mandate to make sure that we get a good, pragmatic government for Germany. The SPD's rise heralds a swing left for Germany and marks a comeback for the party, which has recovered some 10 points in support in just 3 months to improve on its 20.5% from the 2017 election. We don't yet know what this portends bigger picture for Europe. We just don't. But if we are hoping that the authoritarian right-wing slide of the 2012 to 2018 and 19 phase is going to be pulled back against, that we're going to go back in the opposite direction, certainly this is something of an auspicious sign. Now, whether other countries go in the same direction and whether there will be any actual progress made in Germany, if indeed Olaf Scholz ends up being the chancellor, very, very much remains to be seen. But what we're hoping for, and again, we're putting these things together without actually knowing whether they are related as part of some bigger package of change. If we continue to see these humiliations in the US for the right, the humiliation in California with the recall, Trump regularly being humiliated. We've been talking about these things. If we start to see this push in the other direction, and we also start to see a rejection of the rising far-right nationalism in Europe, of which Merkel was not a part, but still going Merkel to Social Democrats would be a good sign. we may enter what some have been hoping to be a new progressive era 100 years later. Remember, the progressive era in the United States started at the very end of the 19th century and went into the 20s. We've talked about that really important historical period before. And of course, my hope as a social democrat is that we would be soon entering a new progressive era. Could all of these little data points be starting to signal in that direction? Maybe, remains to be seen. One other article I wanted to look at, CNN reporting SPD narrowly wins German election against Merkel's CDU, but uncertainty remains over next leader. Germany's left-leaning SPD will begin negotiations to form a ruling coalition after preliminary results showed the party narrowly winning the largest share of parliamentary seats following Sunday's federal election. With all 299 of the electoral districts reporting, SPD won 25.7% of the vote, beating out the Christian Democratic Union, the centrist-right conservative party of outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel, which posted record losses by taking just 24.1%, but uncertainty over who the next leader will be. One other thought on Merkel, again, because so many see her as basically center-left. In the US, we're so used to seeing these right-wingers be anti-science, coming from the world of business or law, governing very much with their religion in play. What I think maybe led some Americans to see Merkel as more center-left is that her background as a scientist and her relatively consistent record of keeping religion out of governance to some degree, although we could debate that, it doesn't feel like the right-wingerism that we've become accustomed to in the United States. And so that's why you look at someone like Louis Gohmert, or Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then you see Merkel. Merkel seems left-wing compared to them. I understand that. But Merkel, part of the CDU, certainly not a left-wing party. Good signs from these early results in Germany. We're going to continue following what sort of coalition gets put together, and also whether this is a sign of things to come in other European countries. One of our sponsors is Magic Spoon breakfast cereal, sweet and tasty like the cereals I loved as a kid, but without the sugar or the carbs. Every serving of Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, only 4 net carbs, 140 calories, and packed with 13 grams of protein. Perfect if you're doing keto, perfect if you're doing low carb, great if you're just trying to reduce your excess sugar intake, and because it's packed with protein, it's great before or after a workout. Magic Spoon flavors include cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, and cinnamon. They're bringing back cookies and cream. They're bringing back maple waffle. You can build your own variety box and try them all. Magic Spoon is so confident in the product, if you don't love it as much as I do, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Go to magicspoon.com/Pacman. The link is underneath this video, and you'll get $5 off when you use the promo code Pacman at checkout.